What's up, guys? This is Saiyan here, coming at you with the first video of 2022. I kind of wanted to do something a little bit more in depth for you guys, but unfortunately that's not going to be happening today. So instead, I'm going to throw back to RONE, which is quite an interesting sort of post-apocalyptic card game that people could get through um, but you can buy it online now if you want to. But it was also a Kickstarter thing a couple of years ago. I did an unboxing on it that you can check out if you're interested. I can also do a gameplay, but basically I want to show you guys my deck. That's the deck that I run. You don't have to build a deck in this game. The whole idea is that when you get the box, you and your opponent, you just, your buddy, you just randomly pick up a character each and just pick 24 cards from the huge pile of decks and see what happens. But when deck building comes into the picture, it does become a little bit more exciting, let's be honest. So what we have here is a 24 card deck. We have a 5 card technology deck here, and we have 3 levels to our character. So I went with Fallout guy here. For those of you who may have played Fallout 1, Fallout 2, eerily reminiscent of our Fallout guy here. First thing first, we're really focusing on level 2 in this deck. I think anybody who digs into the cards a little bit more, you will very quickly realize that the stage you want to be at is level 2. Level 3, not really worth it. So basically, our level 1 guy, we start with being able to level up for 15 water. We want to get to that 15 water as soon as possible. If we tap our guy once, you go to that purple side, we either get a water or draw a card. And what's really cool about this guy is that when an opponent's unit leaves the battlefield, you gain 1 water. So we have an alternate economy here. Every time we can get rid of one of our opponent's units, we gain 1 water. That's a really, really, really good ability. And we can also tap it for 2. Well, your card is untapped once at the beginning of your turn. And for that double tap, we can remove the top card of any graveyard from the game. And again, those of you who know the game, obviously you can recycle cards from your graveyard. So we really want to go to level 2. This is where we're going to be camping, just because we get an extra water and we get an extra card. And for that 15 water investment, we're just going to do that the first couple of turns. If we go second, obviously we start with 2 extra water. If we go first, well, we do have a couple of cards here in the technology deck to also help us to get to that 15 water. We do not bother with level 3 because there's no point to spend 12 water to get an extra water at the beginning of our turn, and we have no level 3 cards in the deck as well, either. We're really doing the upgrade to have access to the level 2 cards and to have access to 1 card per turn. So that's where we want to be. Let's look at the technologies. For 0 water, we can play Water Jug, which just gives us 3 water. Now, from your 5 technology cards, you can only play 3 a game. So you kind of want to have some versatility here. So we got Water Jug, get 3 water for free. Very cool. Gets us to that level 2 much quicker. We also have, sticking with the level 1s, we also have Orbital Artillery. You can tap it twice and deal 1 damage to target hero. So we just kind of, helps us to close the game a little bit quicker. Does cost 4 water, not really a big problem. And the final level 1 with Gene Therapy, again, double tap. Costs 2 water to play, it stays on the table. Tap it twice, gain 2 cards, then put 1 card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. So every second turn, basically, we get a bit of a hand refreshment. If there's something that we don't need in that particular game in our hands, put it to the bottom of the deck. Again, it's just realistically, if not, you draw 2, put 1 at the bottom. It's just super good for 2 water. And then these are recent additions. I've added 2 level 2 cards because I found that, sometimes you might want just something else, particularly for the water jug. These two you kind of want to play all the time, but if you go like second, then you can get to level 2 a bit quicker. You might not want to play water jug. For that replacement, we have Kronos. Cost 2 water, tap it twice, refresh target card 1 time. So really this just allows us to either do an extra attack or allows us to perhaps draw an extra card off our hero. It can be useful in many different ways. And we have Purifier for 1 water. At the beginning of your turn, you gain 1 extra water. This is really just in for decks that might try to starve you off some water, and that's really just what it's there for. Usually, you're not really going to be using this, and if you do play Kronos, it will be instead of Water Jug. The other two are fairly basic; they will come down most games. And then for our deck, obviously, with our main focus being trying to obviously remove the obstacles as soon as you don't have any. Units to battle against, you can immediately go ahead and attack your opponent's deck. So what we're trying to do is remove as many units as possible, get extra water, kind of play a little extra some other cards. So I'll start with the tactics. Running 2 Retaliation. Retaliation costs 3 water, or we can recycle it for 4, and it deals 1 damage to target unit. If it destroys it, you then draw a card, or gain a card. That's really, really cool. 1 damage, and if you play your cards right, which you will, then it replaces itself. Super cool card. And then we go into a level 2 card, 2 water or 2 cards to recycle. Cluster Bomb, fantastic card. I absolutely love this card. So it deals 1 damage to target unit, and then if you play with the initiative and you pay one card cost, then it deals 1 damage to another target unit, and then you have to remove Cluster Bomb from the game. So it's basically a 1 card, but you can take out 2 units with it if they're both on 1 health. So that's really, really, really cool. The 2 for 1 in any card game is very important. We have Corrosion. Corrosion is against any unit that has, realistically, any unit that has like 3 or 4 health. Basically bring it down to 1 health. The larger the unit, the better Corrosion becomes. Absolutely love the artwork. Totally reminds me of surgical extraction from Magic the Gathering, by the way. But it's a really, really strong card. For 3 water to bring any unit's health down to 1 is amazing. And then again, that brings it in range of Retaliation, Cluster Bomb. And then you can just finish them off from there. Particularly good against defenders. Really, really good against defenders. 2 copies of Aimed Shot. Deal 1, so for 3 water, or you can recycle it for 4, deal 1 damage to target unit. If it destroys, refresh target technology 1 time. So realistically, this can be really cool with either just, getting closer to using gene therapy again, or orbital artillery, or, even Kronos. It can be useful for any one of those. Because you might come across some decks that are trying to exhaust your stuff, and then you're never gonna get to those technologies. You kind of want to get to those technologies as soon as you can. We got then Training, 2 copies of Training, 2 water or 3 recycle. Target 2 cards you control and swap their exhaustion phases. That's super cool because these guys they don't need any tapping, but they can be tapped. So if you got your hero that's like tapped out, you can literally just change the 2 positions. And then Water Jug will slowly, beginning of each of your turns, will take back on. But you get another whatever you want to do with this, or a technology or anything, any 2 cards. Super, super, super cool card. Training is very, very cool. And in our last actions, we have 2 copies of Night Raid. Deal 2 damage to target hero, then remove Night Raid from the game. 3 water or 5 card recirc. I actually finished the game. So these are actually in there to finish the game when your opponent's got like 4 cards altogether, you know, like 4 in hand or 2 in deck, 2 in hand, whatever the case. If you can play these 2 in consecutive order, you just win there. That's what they're in there for, their finishes. And they do a really good job at that. Why give your opponent an extra turn if you can finish them off now? On to our units. What's really important with the units for me is that they can attack every turn. So what you will find is that my units are all playable out of 7 water, which is what I should get at the beginning of each of my turns with my hero on level 2. So I can play Xalak from 5 water or 5 recycle, and it has 1 health, it has 1 melee attack, but it can swing every turn. And when you recycle it, you gain 2 water, so it also gives us water, which is just fantastic. Level 2s, we have 2 copies of Fargal, cost 6 water or 5 to recycle. Again, same story, attacks each turn. This one has 1 ranged attack, and when it hits the battlefield, another target unit gains +1 ranged for the next combat. So not only do you get, obviously, a ranged attacker, which is super good, but you also give one of your guys 1 extra swing. Really, really good. Then I got 2 copies of Robots pack, cost 6 water or 4 to recycle. Now this guy has a lot of health, has 4 health, but the end of your turn, you have to deal 1 damage to Robots pack. So it's not really a problem because still, you know, obviously he's going to be attacking every turn. He's got 1 melee and just a little bit of health, you know, it ticks off, but realistically it's more resilient than some of the other guys with that comes down with 1 health. It's really good for defending as well. 2 copies of Juggernaut. Really cool card because every time you strike, you can exhaust the target card 1 time. So every time you hit your opponent's deck, you can exhaust one of their cards 1 time. If that's the hero or if that's one of their technologies, that's really, really cool. Costs 7 water, so we can still just about play it out of our hero. 2 health is also cool, and 1 melee, and it can attack each turn. Then we got 2 copies of Mech Patrol. Mech Patrol is another really cool card, to be honest. I really like this a lot. Again, bit on the expensive side for 7 water. We can still get it out. Or 5 to recycle. It's got 2 health though, which is cool. And it is another one of our ranged attackers. When you combat, you have to deal 1 damage to the Mech Patrol. But if you strike, it gains +1 health. So it damages itself, but if you hit, then it also heals itself. So it's kind of like balancing it out that, you know, it's a fairly cost-efficient unit that does do a ranged attack nevertheless. And then finally, the only card that doesn't attack every single turn is the Rock. There was another card, don't ask me which one it was. I just didn't quite feel it, like, you know, using it. Because I thought, well, you know, if you ultimately break it down, if these guys can attack every turn and they deal 1 damage, then if I can attack every second turn but still deal 2 damage, then that's basically the same as hitting, you know, attacking with 1 guy every single turn. Not quite the same, because obviously if the Rock gets you know, double tapped, then it's a little bit more difficult to get an extra swing in with this guy. But it also has 2 health and he has shield, so you know, when it goes out of the deck, when you recycle it, you put it back into your deck with the picture side up, and you basically get an extra card kind of in your deck to an extra health for your deck. So that's why we got the Rock in. It's something like I haven't tried this guy out yet in a battle, but I have high hopes for this one as well. And really, as you guys can see, what we're doing is we're just using the most efficient cards and being able to make extra water. And it so far it works pretty well. I really like this deck. It's really cool. If you guys are interested in RONE, then go and pick it up because it's cheap. It's a fun little game to play. There's a couple of different play styles you can play in this, because there are some, you can build a deck, you can just shuffle all the cards up and just draw random from them, and you get some sort of like field cards as well, where all the players get disadvantages. That's pretty cool as well. So this is it for this Friday, guys. I will see you next week with something a little bit more beefy, but up until that, peace out.